Hello, my name's Dylan. I'm your fellow classmate. Hope you guys have had a great semester. So, for my case, I chose the Starbucks case, and for this presentation, we'll talk about the Starbucks case and its backstory, the outcomes of the case, the problems of the case and concepts, current research being done, my case recommendations, and lessons learned from the project. So, Starbucks and its background. So, for this case, it started in spring of 2018. Two African American men go into Starbucks. They ask to use the bathroom. They are denied. So what do? They just go sit down. They just relax. And then a waitress shows up and asks, "Do you? Would you guys want anything?" And they say no. Some time goes by, and the cops show up. Apparently, the manager of the place basically called the cops on him for no apparent reason. They were arrested. Luckily, they the charges were dropped, and out of this, they asked for $200,000 to donate to young African Americans to be entrepreneurs. They also got $1 apiece, and a number of Starbucks execs went on notable TV shows like on CNN and ABC and a lot of, like, including Howard Schultz, uh, potential presidential nominee. Um, so, some of the outcome, like I said, the charges were dropped. They asked for $200,000 to donate to be African Americans, to be entrepreneurs. This was in Philadelphia, by the way. They also got $1 apiece, and a number of execs went onto their defense. Plus, for one whole day, Starbucks entirely shut down their operations. They basically shut down the whole entire operation. They did diversity training to make sure this never happens again. So, the problems and concepts I will be presenting to you. The problem: a woman called the cops while the two men were not doing anything wrong, potentially because they were African Americans. The concepts that I used for my case analysis were conflict management process, decision making process, socialization, and organizational diversity processes. I chose those because conflict management, basically based off of the conflict at hand and what was going on, decision making, what the woman was doing at the time to lead her up to calling the cops. Socialization, basically, what was the environment the Starbucks was in, whether that be the management or the crew or the customers and the police officers. And then organizational diversity process is basically how diversity was appreciated in the organizations like Starbucks and how that could have been a problem. So, the current research I did was about there was a study from BYU, and it talked about when it came to decision making, when it came to what the hiring processes are now for these companies, and they said a whole lot more of them, especially young people, are through social media. They're using more social media more and more now to hire people. That could be good or bad. But that's also raised a few red flags about people when it comes to privacy, and is it really the businesses? Is it any of their business for the companies to be snooping around social media? And I read also some other research that has been done into this was talking about different hiring practices happen when it comes to hiring new people now, and a way to filter out potential candidates, whether that be through conflict, through decision making, through their history. So, some of the recommendations that I presented in my case recommendations essay was an update on the hiring process and mandatory decision-making classes. That would also include diversity classes. I chose those because, when it came to the woman in Starbucks, I don't know how she was hired. Basically, trying to do a better job of filtering out people based off of decision-making process and what they would do in certain situations, and mandatory decision-making classes that would go along with the hiring process as well, and the fact of diversity classes to make sure that each employee understands that diversity is a higher priority in the workplace or among their customers. And lessons learned. So lessons I learned is, basically how the business world works in the form of crisis management, whether that be through Howard Schultz going on places like CNN to talk about the situation and what went on and what they're doing to basically prevent it from happening again. Another one is what can be done to avoid certain dilemmas. Like I said, maybe through the hiring process and the mandatory decision-making classes, making sure that people understand, how to avoid crisis and to handle situations like that better. And the other one is how to effectively communicate in an organization and how it is crucial. Because from what I read, I don't know if any of the other employees of her were interviewed, but apparently communication was ill-effective in this place, and it led to 2 African Americans to be potentially arrested because of their skin color. Thank you all for listening, and I hope you are informed by my presentation, and enjoy the rest of your semester. Thank you.